Greetings internet friends, AJ here from 8-Bit Horse, and today I'm going to tell you the story of the very first video game my brother ever bought with his own money. As I mentioned in my previous video, my brother and I got an NES console in 1987, and it came with Super Mario Bros. As the pack-in game. And as great as that game was, we were eager to use our new system to do something other than taking turns playing as Mario and Luigi. So we saved our allowance, we each had $20 to spend, so we went to the discount section in the video games, and each picked one game. I picked Balloon Fight, and my brother picked Winter Games. Now before you yell out, "Hey AJ, isn't Balloon Fight like a way better game than Winter Games?" And you're not wrong, but we were actually both pretty happy with our purchases, and we did spend a lot of time playing Winter Games in the months after we bought it. And to understand that, you need to understand why the Olympic Games were such a big deal in my family. Right about now you're probably thinking, oh my god, he's about to tell the story about how his uncle got the silver medal in pole vaulting. But no. No. Growing up, our TV antenna could pick up 3 stations: NBC, CBS, and PBS. The way broadcast television worked is that if you had a better antenna, you could pick up more stations depending on the strength of the signal and how close you were to the tower. So, for instance, my friend across the street, her family had a really nice antenna, so they could get twice as many stations as we could. In fact, I used to go over to her house to watch episodes of Doctor Who, but they were still kind of grainy, like they didn't come in completely clear. And if the weather was bad, they wouldn't come in at all. It was just snow, which sucks because, you know, the Doctor Who episodes, a lot of them were multi-part to be continued, so you'd watch one episode and then you wouldn't get to find out what happened next. During the 1980s, the Olympics were aired on ABC, but we didn't get ABC. Or at least, we didn't get it normally. So, broadcast television can be kind of a finicky thing, and you may have heard stories, or maybe you watch an old sitcom, right, where there's somebody who touches the antenna, and then they position themselves in like a really specific way, and suddenly the channel comes in clear. So yeah, that is a real thing. So the only way for us to get ABC is if we took our television and pulled it away from the wall and ran it diagonally across the living room. Now bear in mind, televisions from the 1970s were in these big wooden consoles, so this is a big honking piece of furniture that we got to pull out and run across the room. You actually block off a huge chunk of the room, and then the whole family had to pack in on the couch on the opposite side across from the TV so we could watch the Summer and Winter Olympics. So it was a pretty big deal because you can't just move the TV every day, right? It has to stay in that position. So for a couple weeks out of the year, for every time that the Olympics aired, we had to rearrange the furniture in the house and like sit kind of in a strange position across from it. So you got to be pretty excited about a television program to rearrange your furniture and disrupt your daily lives just so you can watch it. And the fact that the Olympics were such a big deal is why my brother and I were excited about playing Winter Games on the NES. And the Olympics always started the same way, right? We'd always watch the opening ceremonies, all the countries being introduced, and of course the big event was the lighting of the Olympic torch and the doves flying out. And there's actually a pretty cool torch lighting sequence at the beginning of Winter Games. And the developers thought you might like this so much that they made it unskippable. So you had to watch it every time you put in the game, and they put an option in the menu so you could rewatch it later if once wasn't enough. You don't get the entire Winter Olympics experience. In fact, you don't even get all the same events that you get in other versions of the same game, but the NES version has 4 events. You have figure skating, speed skating, bobsled, and aerial freestyle skiing, which is listed in the menu as hot dog aerials. I believe hot dog aerials are something like thank you, thank you, thank you. You can pick one of the 4 events to play on its own or play them all in a row, with 6 countries represented: United States, Canada, USSR, Japan, Great Britain, and France. And you could probably guess that we usually played as the USA. There's also a nice little chiptune national anthem for each of the countries. Of all of the events, we didn't really get into figure skating or speed skating. Figure skating was great to watch on television, but it was really tough to play in the NES game. It's hard to keep from just falling down over and over, let alone being able to perform a whole routine that gets you a good score from the judges. Speed skating was a little bit easier, but it still wasn't super engaging because you're just pressing left and right on the D-pad really fast to try to get to the end of the course as quickly as possible. You couldn't even race against each other, you had to take turns. The bobsled event was actually pretty cool. It had this neat 3D effect in the top right corner showing you the oncoming course, and the left side of the screen has a map so you can see which direction you need to turn and how tight the corners are. There's a timer and a speed indicator so you can see how well you're doing and maybe decide if you want to slow down a bit for a sharp turn. And if you don't compensate enough to make a turn, you'll wipe out. The event we spent the most time on was definitely hot dog aerials. In this event, you come down a ski jump and you fly into the air, and you have just enough time to execute 2 moves before you hit the ground. If you're good. It takes crackerjack timing to perform both moves and avoid crashing into the ground and just rupturing your spleen. You have to pay attention to where the skier overlaps with the mountain in the background to get the timing just right. So is it a great game? No. But we did enjoy it at the time. We put a lot of hours into it, and it was our way to engage with the Winter Olympics in video game form. But as our collection got bigger, it eventually worked its way down to the bottom of the pile, and we never played it again. So is there a video game that you spent a lot of time with as a child that you don't really care for anymore today? Let me know down in the comments. In the meantime, thank you for joining me for Story Time with the Old Man of Gaming, and we'll see you next time.